Hey kids, welcome to section 1.2 overtime pay. Today we're going to learn how to calculate straight time, overtime, and total pay. So to get ready for the lesson, why do employers pay a higher rate for overtime work? A lot of times employers will pay more to people that will work longer to entice them to get them to work longer. A lot of times overtime pay is the best thing ever because you get like all this extra money and it goes right in your pocket. Some major vocab that you need to know. When you work more than the regular number of hours, you may earn overtime pay. Now, normally regular hours at most jobs is 40, so overtime pay would be when you work more than those 40 hours. One type of overtime pay is time and a half. It's equal to 1.5 times the hourly rate. Sometimes 1.5 can be written as 1.5. Double time is another type of overtime rate, and it's equal to twice your regular hourly rate, so that's a 2. Employers often pay double time for Sundays and holidays, so like Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, major holidays where most people have it off. Some employers will pay double time to get people to work. So to calculate your overtime pay, you're going to take your overtime rate, which is your pay, like how much you earn an hour, and multiply it by how many hours you worked. Now, you can find your total pay by taking your straight time normal pay and then adding your overtime pay together, and that will give you total pay. So let's do some examples here. Example number 1, Josie Perez makes $9 per hour. She works 40 regular hours and 6 hours at overtime at time and a half. So time and a half being that 1.5. So to find the total pay, let's see, first we can find her regular pay. Her regular pay is going to be how much she earns an hour, $9, and multiply it by how many hours she worked. That's 40. So if I multiply $9 and 40 hours, I get $360. Now I'm going to calculate her overtime pay. Her overtime pay is taking that hourly rate, $9, and putting what her overtime rate is, that's 1.5, and then multiplying it by how many hours she worked, that's 6. So 9 times 1.5 times 6 is $81. Now to find her total pay, we just have to take those two numbers together, 360 and 81, and add them together. And we're going to get a grand total of $441. That's how much you would expect on her paycheck. Okay? All right, let's try a second example. Ed Lang makes $11.50 per hour. This week he worked 36 regular hours and 7 hours at double time. Remember, double time is 2. Find the total pay. All right, so we can find the regular pay. All right, regular pay. Take his hourly rate, $11.50, and multiply by his regular hours, that's 36. And if I multiply $11.50 times 36 hours, I get $414. Then I can find my overtime pay by taking the hourly rate, $11.50, multiplying it by the overtime rate, which is 2, and multiply by how many hours he worked, which is 7. So $11.50 times 2 times 7 is 161. So then to find the total, I'm just going to take those two numbers, 414 and 161, add them together, and I'm going to get a grand total of $575. Okay? Very good. All right, let's go on to the next slide. We have 2 more examples here. Corey Murphy earns $11.80 an hour for a regular 40-hour week at the pet store. His overtime pay is 1.5 times his regular hourly rate. Last week, Corey earned $613.60 in total pay. How many hours of overtime did he work? Okay, well, this time it doesn't tell us how many hours of overtime. So we kind of have to work backwards, but we can do the same thing we did before. We can find his regular hours and we can find his overtime hours. All right, so his regular hours is his hourly rate, $11.80, times his regular hours, which is 40. So that gives us $472. Now here's where it gets tricky. The overtime rate is the hourly rate times the overtime rate, which is 1.5, times the number of hours he worked. Well, we don't really know how many overtime hours he worked, so I'm going to call it H. Now I can make this simpler and actually multiply the 11.80 and the 1.5. And when I do that, I get 17.7. And I can just put an H after it because when you multiply numbers and letters, they just kind of go next to each other. Well, now I know what the total is. I know that the total is $613.60. So I'm going to make an equation where, just like before, I'm going to add the regular and the overtime together and set it equal to the total. So 472 plus 17.7H, and that's supposed to equal 613.60. Okay, this is an equation. How do we solve it? Well, we bring the number over to the right-hand side by subtracting, so minus 472 to both sides. So that's going to leave us with 17.7H. And when I subtract 613.60 minus 472, I get 141.60. Okay, we're almost done. To solve for H, I'm just going to divide by the coefficient, 17.7. And if I have to round, it would probably tell us, but actually when we divide, we get 8 hours. Now it's a word problem, so make sure you have a word. In this case, it says how many hours did he work? So perfect. All right, let's do one more like this. Example number 4, Domingo earns $13 per hour, and works 37.5 hours per week. He is paid double time for all hours worked over 37.5 in 1 week. Last week, John, oh, that's supposed to say Domingo, was paid $585. How many overtime hours did he work that week? All right, so we'll just pretend this says Domingo. All right, good job. Okay, so we're going to find his regular, his overtime, and then we can find his total. Okay, so regular is the hourly rate times the number of hours. And when I multiply 13 and 37.5, I get 487.50. Our overtime, we take the hourly rate. This time it's double time, so I'm going to put it 2. And I don't know the hours, that's H. When I multiply those, I get 26H. And then my total, 585. So now I can write an equation. 487.50 plus 26H equals 585. So here's an equation I can solve. I can subtract the 487.50 to both sides. And I get 26H equals, when I subtract that, I get 97.5. I can divide by the coefficient, 26. And weirdly enough, I get, oh, my bad, 3.75 hours. All right, there you go. Overtime pay. Good luck. Peace out.